Welcome back. Let's take a look at the continuation of our discussion about Teshuva. I'm calling this Teshuva 2, affirming the one angel and the white teeth. Now, it's true that each generation has its own challenge to Teshuva, and it's been pointed out, I believe that Revolvi has pointed it out, others have pointed out that the challenge in today is people's sense that they don't really have choices. Western culture has really drummed the beat of a person is who he is, I'm just lazy, I'm just angry, or whatever. The 12-step programs, they've tried to turn that over to Hashem, again, with a sense of, I don't really have any ability to make changes. We have to reaffirm the capacity, the human's capacity for choice. And that has to be done in a way that is healthy. So let's look at how one would do that in a healthy way. As a way of background, there are many thinkers that have asked if man is essentially good or evil. The message then is, if man is essentially good, then there should be no need for Teshuva, because deep down everybody is good. If man is essentially evil, then how can Teshuva help? It's sort of a lost cause. So that is the challenge that has been raised by many thinkers about whether man is essentially good or evil. Both of those assertions, and the Torah can be described as identifying with the one angel. Let me explain what I mean by that. There's a pasuk in Eov. You'll find it also quoted in the Machzor when we do the custom of kaparos. So there's an introductory paragraph there, and these same psukim are quoted. And the pasuk reads, Im yesh alav malach melitz echad mini elef. If there is among the angels one angel who speaks on behalf of the person, lahagid le'adam yashro, to say something positive, something yashar about the person, vaychunenu, Hashem will, vayomer pidaehu meredes shachas, and Hashem will say, spare him, redeem him from going forever to Gehenna. Matzasi kofer, I have found the redemption for him. That redemption is found by this one angel among 1,000. So the person of oblivion, based on that one good thing that is said about the person. If you don't mind, I'd like to just tell a little story about this one good angel. I've seen this story referenced in a number of places, and I believe that most of them have one or several errors in the way that the story is rendered. I believe that the way that I'm telling you the story now is very credible and very close to the way it happened. The story was that there was a Chevra Kadisha in the time of the Marsha. So we're going back 500 years. In the time of the Marsha, Chevra Kadisha received the body of a really bad guy. Really caused great pain and affliction to other Jews, just a really bad guy. And At the time of the ritual purification, the burial society, one of the members spoke demeaningly of the departed, and he said, "Oh, we've been waiting for you." Well, first of all, it's not nice to, during a ritual purification of the deceased, but more so, you don't say something negative about the deceased. And a short while later, maybe the following night, this same deceased man appeared in a dream to this member of the Chevra Kadisha, of the Ritual Burial Society, and he made claim against him. I want to summon you to a din Torah. I want to summon you to court over the fact that you demeaned me. Well, the first day he was able to ignore the dream. The dream came again. The dream came a third time. This time he went to the Marsha, who was the Rav of the city. He went to the Marsha and he explained to him what had happened and the recurring dream. The Marsha said, "Sleep here tonight. And if he comes back, no matter what I'm doing, sleeping, learning, whatever, I want you to serve me and tell me that you're having that dream." And sure enough, that night he slept at by the Marsha, and he had this dream, and he went running to the Marsha, and the Marsha came and isolated himself, and there was talking. There was clearly talking going, presumably between the Marsha and this man. When the conversation was over, he stepped out and he told the member of the Chevra Kadisha, "You have nothing to concern yourself with anymore. You can go home. Everything's taken care of." So the member of the Chevra Kadisha said, "What's taken care of? What's done? What's taken care of?" And the Marsha told him it was here. The soul of this departed person was here. And 2 questions. I said, first question is, what happened in your din in Shamayim? What happened when you were judged in heaven? What happened? And the second question that I asked him is, they only let very righteous people come back to this world. That's not for somebody who had your track record. How is it that you are given the privilege of coming back to this world? And the man said to him, "I don't know the answer to the second question as to why they let me back, but I do know the answer to the first question. I'll tell you what happened." The case was going very, very badly. Angel after angel after angel came out with one accusation, another accusation. The accusations, it wasn't stopping, and the verdict looked pretty sealed against me. It was a very judgment. All of a sudden, one angel called out, "Hey, he saved a person who was freezing. A person freezing would have died." And the truth of the matter is, it did happen. I did once, I was in my carriage, and there was a poor fellow who was frozen on the side of the road, and for some reason, uncharacteristically, I him up onto my wagon, and I brought him home, and I warmed him up, and I sent him back on his way. So all of the other angels were screaming at this one angel, "Who cares about this one? It's nullified against thousands of instances where he oppressed people, caused all sorts of grief and misery to other people." But this angel wouldn't let up. The point. He said, "Yes, but this person that he saved was a very righteous person who raised a wonderful family, and not only that, he was a teacher. He was a Molamed, he was a teacher, and he taught many people, and they went on to raise proper families. So that's all to his credit, because he saved this person." All of a sudden, there was a tremendous gun in the court in heaven, and suddenly I remembered that this fellow had maligned me, had treated me improperly. And I wanted to summon him to court. So the Maharsha said, now that you told me the answer to the first question, I'll tell you the answer to the second question. They didn't send you back down here because of your righteousness. They sent you back down here to decide how you're going to be judged. There's two possible ways that you can be judged. You can be judged mercifully based on this act of mercy that you did and all of the repercussions of that act of mercy, or they can throw the book at you and judge you absolutely case by case on all of the things that you did in the course of your life. And they let you decide how you're going to be judged. If you pursue this case against this man, so then you have indicated that justice will prevail and they will throw the book at you and judge you over every single thing that you did. If on the other hand, you waive your rights and you let it go and you conduct yourself mercifully in this regard, you will have determined your judgment in heaven. And you will be judged favorably based on this incident that you saved this man. And the deceased understood that what the Maharsha was telling him was good advice, the best possible advice, and he declared that he's waiving his rights fully and completely, he's forgiving, and he wishes to have no further claim against this person, and with that he returned to his heavenly judgment. What I would like to focus on is how do we, as living people, how do we focus on those incidents? How do we focus on those incidents, the things that we do in our lives? Maybe not as dramatic as having saved a person's life in that way, but how do we focus on that one angel? Because that one angel is an aspect of ourselves. It's a part of oneself. And it's looking to connect. It's looking to connect means it's looking for us to identify ourselves with those aspects or incidents in our lives. So wanting to connect with something that's transcendent and meaningful means that I really am not just caught up in the gravitational pull of our lives. I really want to connect with that which is transcendent. And that's the recipe for Teshuva. The recipe for Teshuva is identifying with the one angel, claiming it, owning it, and centralizing it so that I amplify it in my life. Now, this internal announcement, we have to get used to acknowledging that about ourselves. So you say, well, isn't that prideful? If I talk about something good that I did, isn't that prideful? And the answer is, prideful and identification are two very different states. Prideful means that I want to show off that I've achieved some sort of perfection. And identification, on the other hand, says, wow, that I need to really give this focus because I recognize that I now have a choice. I can either identify with the things that I have done that are parts of the gravitational pull, things that I've done that are not so praiseworthy, or I can identify with this part of myself, which I actually found quite meaningful. I can identify with that, and that spurs the person on to give more efforts, to give more life to that one angel. So the difference between prideful and identification is that prideful actually stops me. An announcement to others can mean, I want you all to know, or I want you, the individual, to know that I have some aspect that I don't need to build on. I don't need to affirm. I don't need to grow. I'm already there. I've reached a certain aspect of perfection. And that, of course, terrifying because that is a spiritual suicide. Whereas announcing it to myself by way of identifying with it, that's the road to tshuva. Identifying that I am indeed aligned with a positive aspect of myself. Give some examples. A person, let's say, has observed Shabbos. So I say, I have observed Shabbos. Now, observing Shabbos is a wonderful thing to identify with. What's the meaning of Shabbos is that I thereby affirm that Hashem created the world on the rest of the week. He rested on Shabbos. I'm a believer in Hashem, and I reject any assertion that any power other than Hashem can create anything. You say, whoa, that's a big affirmation. I don't know if I have that affirmation every Shabbos. I don't know that I have that affirmation when I think about the fact that I observe Shabbos. That's right. You now have a positive angel. You have a good angel, and that is your observation of Shabbos. And have the nation that could make that act, that could turn that act to an identification, could amplify it, it could make it take over more parts of yourself by what that act implies. I've helped somebody else in need. Well, what does that imply? It's a fact. I helped somebody out. Somebody needed some assistance. I helped them out. Well, that's an affirmation that I regard life as precious. I reject any assertion that diminishes the value of life. Celebrate the arrival of a new neshama, bringing a birth. I grieve the loss of a precious life. Whoa, I'm not up to that level. Okay. But you identify the good angel, now feed the angel, identify with the angel, boost the angel, recognize that it's you, and you'll come to a full affirmation, which is tshuva. Maybe we'll never get to the absolute full affirmation, but we'll always be on the road because we're continually affirming and identifying with the good angel. Another example, I've put effort in to achieve some spiritual goal, whatever that is. I try to focus on my conversation with Hashem when I'm davening through prayer. I tried to understand halacha. I tried to do something that had a spiritual goal. What's the affirmation? I believe that we're put in this world to toil. This is the world for effort. There's another world for reward. Well, that's a major affirmation. I don't know that I'm there yet, but I have recognized and come to identify that angel. Maybe the angel is, I've recited a bracha. Well, that's a major affirmation associated with that, acknowledging that my needs all come from Hashem. But it's going to take a lot of work to amplify a bracha. A bracha, I've gotten used to saying it very cavalierly. I've gotten used to just saying it, attention, but it's an angel. And it's an angel I can identify with and build on. Another example, related, of course, to the story of the Marsha, I recall having waived a right that may have been mine. I let the other person pass me on the road. I let the person who perhaps borrowed something and didn't return it go, person who didn't invite me to their simcha, person who didn't. I let it go. I waived some right that might have been mine. What's the affirmation? I recognize that everything comes from Hashem and not from man. And man cannot cause me any losses. Man cannot cause me, because all losses are decreed on Rosh Hashanah from Hashem. And so waiving a right makes good sense. Well, but I didn't exactly do it because of the affirmation. I did it perhaps because I didn't like the way I look in the mirror. I'm walking around having complaints about everybody. And, somebody gave a talk about the fact that we should waive our rights. And somebody else told me that it's healthy. And and when you're not jealous and you don't claim your rights from other people, then you live longer, you live better. But in the end of the day, that's what I did. And that is a good angel. And that one angel can be amplified and built on. And if you're wondering how you can spot these, you might want to keep an eye on the things that others have complimented you about. Oh, Shabbos was so nice in your house. You know what that person was doing? They were sent by him to point out your angel. Shabbos was so nice in your house. Don't say it was nothing. It was not nothing. Point out, I'm so glad that you enjoyed Shabbos. Shabbos so precious for us. And use that moment to affirm, in even a small bit, to affirm the preciousness of Shabbos. Somebody says to you, I so much enjoyed the meal. That's not a nothing. I'm so glad that you enjoyed the meal. That the fact that we are able to bring others into our home and to afford them something to eat and a restful, peaceful place to be, that's hachnosas orchim. That welcoming guests is huge spiritual achievement. Yeah, but I just did it because my son wanted to have a friend, and so I let the friend come. Wait a second. Don't turn it into a nothing. The person was to point out your good angel. Thank you for learning with me. Oh, it was nothing. What? It was nothing? Learning Torah? Nothing? I'm so glad that we had a chance together. Affirm the fact that there's a good angel here and build on it, focus on it. It's a point of light. It's an angel. It's to be owned. It's to be amplified. And the nice news is that we're likely to get those compliments. And when we develop good habits, the compliments will come off. I don't know that it's absolutely necessary to discover a good angel only via compliment. I mean, we should have enough awareness of ourselves to be able to inventory some of the angels on our own. But good habits are important, and compliments certainly help. And they allow a person to identify the angels. Now, there's a trick to doing this. The trick for doing this is to get used to seeing the point of good in everything. If you're trying to do this just in a while or when the person gives you a compliment, I'm afraid it's going to be a very, very tough road. The trick is to get used to seeing the good angel in everything. It's raining. Focus on the kindness of the rain rather than on its inconvenience. Person has a certain amount of pain, chas v'shalom. Focus on the fact that pain is so redemptive, both in this world and the next. The fact that pain is a signal that something that needs to be corrected, that we can go to the doctor is because we have pain. If chas v'shalom we didn't have pain. So these are things that are not so fun. It's hot outside. It's hot. Wait a second. Did I stop and think about enormous blessing of sunshine that allows everything to grow, and everything that happens is because of the sunshine? Yeah, but it's hot, it's uncomfortable, it's sticky. You know what that humidity is about? That humidity is what allows the crops to grow. The Chovos HaLevavos quotes Nemar al echad min hachasidim. He quotes one righteous person. I don't know who the righteous person is that he's quoting, but this person was passing the carcass of a dead dog that stank. And his students turned to him and noticed how absolutely the stench, how unbearable, how unpleasant is the stench of this carcass. And the master turned to them, the teacher turned and said, but look how white its teeth are. And the student regretted having spoken negatively about the carcass. It's about to open up a Chovos HaLevavos to find it. It's in Shar HaKniya, the 6th parak of Shar HaKniya. But this is the way to think of yourself. You have to be able to see the point of light in everything. First and foremost with yourself. You can't do tshuva if you can't see the point of light. Think of your fellow, the person who is next to you, whether it's a spouse, whether it's another person in shul, child. People try to discipline their children without focusing on the point of light, and it just leads to such a disaster. I'm reminded myself at this moment, I believe that Rabbi Twersky said that he once as a little boy was playing chess on Yom Kippur. Apparently had better things to do than to daven, and he was playing chess with him. And his father, Yaakov Twersky, Shalom, called him in and said to him, "It's pasnished. Doesn't fit a young man like you to be playing chess on Yom Kippur." Built on that point of light, and before he let him go with the rebuke, he said to him, "Did you win?" Because there was yet one more bit of a point of light, and that is that he has a father who loves him. And that point of light needed to also be amplified. So the one point of light was, you are bigger and better than this. And the other point of light is that you have a father who loves you. And then when he points out that there's something that you need to correct, it's totally based on, it's not based on just a desire to discipline. There's nothing at all to be gained paying attention to thinking carcass. And there's everything to be gained by noticing the white teeth. And perhaps the biggest win in noticing the white teeth is the ability to do tshuva. Because if you can't identify the parts of yourself that are points of light, angels, that are the white teeth, if you can't identify with them, then what choice do you have? Then you're back to what the Western world has basically sold, this bill of goods, that we don't have choices. We are who we are. We're stuck being who we are. And if you're going to ignore the point of light, you're going to end up in their camp. And they're going to pull you away from the process of tshuva, because they're going to assert ultimately, therefore, your hopelessness. In summary, tshuva is an alignment, it's an identification that we have with the one angel and with the white teeth. And when we have identification, we create a sense of, so what am I? Am I the one who does things that are part of the transcendent pole? Or am I just the person who is pulled around by the gravitational pull to whatever it is that my base desires would want? If you can identify with the transcendent pole, you create choice. Which one do I choose to focus on and amplify? And that's when you decide which team you're on. And it's not a once and for all decision. It's a constant, ongoing decision, because we are built to both have gravitational pull and transcendent pull. And that's why we're built for tshuva. We're built for this mitzvah called tshuva by our very design. We are clearly designed as tshuva machines. Because we have both, because we have the ability to identify with each of these poles, to identify with them to the point where we find ourselves having. Thank you very much, and look forward to sharing Be'ezer Hashem. And of course, since it's Elul, to wishing a Tzivach Simatova and Mazel Tov to the Burgos family and the Simcha that allowed them to host us even remotely.